Hi, I'm Roland and welcome back to Practical Plastic. So today, have a little bonus episode, a special episode, because I had the very fortunate opportunity to go to the Concours d'Elegance 2025 in Greenwich, Connecticut. And oh my God, what an incredible display of cars. So, this video is going to be my tour around the show. And like I said, what a show it was. So I will say from the get-go, I filmed everything on my phone. So there are some parts where I just had to delete the audio because it was very windy both days of the show. And sometimes the wind noise was just ridiculous on the video. But other than that, I just tried to give, a walking tour impression. And some of these cars had some incredible stories with them. So I will be giving some narration during the video to let you share in the incredible history of some of the vehicles they had on display. I do enjoy, and I am fortunate enough, right in my hometown, we do have a little car show that, local people every Thursday night, they show up in the local plaza with their cars, and I love that stuff because, muscle cars are great, and I love seeing all the muscle cars that people bring. I love that era of cars, but sometimes people show up with some really fascinating stuff. But this show was all fascinating stuff. So, really incredible event. If you ever get the opportunity to attend and you're interested in cars and their history, can't recommend it enough. So that's enough of me blabbing. So gonna cut away and we'll get right into the video. In the meantime, as always, just want to say thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, hitting the alert button, all that good YouTube stuff as usual. And when next I come in, I will in fact be building the Mobius tow truck, which I have not touched yet because this came up, and hey, gotta take what opportunity passes your way. So let's get to it. Alrighty. So Patrick, where are we?
We're at the Concours d'Elegance, the most ritzy elite car show in the world. Tax write-off on getting a $4.5 million car You ever get a picture of those Hampton little cars from
find somebody else to take our place, so we're glad to be back here in Greenwich. Here at Roger Sherman Baldwin Park, which is quite a mouthful. Despite the kind of iffy weather, it looks like things are moving out as far as what's called mid-engine revolution or mid-engine sports cars. Things like a Marac and a Miura, stuff you don't normally get to see over in the corner past Club Greenwich. So please don't miss that. We have Trans Am cars, we have the cars of Greenwich Avenue, which are supercars, only Porsche 356s.
So I have one of these.
Then I had the opportunity to have this car shown at SEMA, which seemed like we could once in a lifetime.
Oh, wow. I don't usually do it.
Interesting mono wiper.
But Studebaker did these odd, interesting designs.
Not very well.
Be sure to stop by the Maserati display to experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and
This particular Darren here was Dutch Darren's Darren. I bought this from the Darren family years ago, and they called me and they said they wanted it to go to me, and I purchased it. But this was his.
Well, that brings up the other Darren mystique, if you want to call it that. The rumor was, how could we not build this car? They said no to building the car. So he parked the car outside of the National Dealer meeting. Well, it's very nice at an event like this. You guys really, the importance of your family means everything to you, and doing things with your family, and your kids are involved with cars, like cars as well. To have the Morano family here as our Grand Marshal today, Ralph.
Thank you,
Ralph
Ralph.
Jr., Kelly, Adeline. There she is. Okay. We're so glad to
H came like it.
we're only on mic.
flowers.
Have you ever had it out to
I took it a step further and then stylized. So you'll see that
car right back to the way it was. No permanent modification.
So the lady just walked up, looked at the car and said, how do you drive it without mirrors?
Well, that's something that a hot rodder gets into, right? So we build hot rods without mirrors, so we're used to flipping around as much as we need to.
You're always going forward.
We always go forward, we don't look back, yeah.
Let's move on to our second car. This has a great story too, because I got home and it's just like cry, you know, from the next Porsche.
So this car I owned for a short time. It now belongs to Gino Lucci, and he's here to that's cool. And I was the third owner of this car as well. This is the original colors. It's a rare color. It's called the aquamarine non-metallic color. It's an 1857 only. And so this car, I did a restoration on it back.
356 Speedster.
What used to pass for a baby
Max
seat.
Hoffman was really the guy who pushed it. Pushed Porsche to build the car, and the idea was a low cost.
Yeah, little wheel and stick shifters. Yeah, I know, right? That baby was learning how to drive one.
Well, I guess we can't interrupt the phone. We can talk all about that, but it's just a matter of how long we want to go there before we get in trouble, right? It's
Now looking at these cars, as I have noted below, 7 Packards, part of a private collection, but what an incredible set of vehicles, these 7 cars. I mean, beyond immaculate. And the owner went through talking about everything involved in curating and restoring this collection. One of these cars was just a rusted hulk in a field. Another car was actually burned down, I believe, in a barn. So everything had to be redone. The restoration team actually went back through Packard's designs and blueprints to make sure they got everything just right. All the materials, they are all running. Just an incredible display of vehicular history, and I think they speak for themselves. I mean, these things are just absolutely beautiful, and to be able to see them all lined up like that, it was just an incredible experience. So very happy I got to see this.
It gives you determination and a goal in life to work hard to ascertain whatever vehicle you want. There's no limitations on what you can do.
That we have in North America. And what we did at this show is rims on the car and the fact that it's got a tire that's a little bit bigger than the original size. I think it would run very...
Comes standard with every Fiat vehicle. Visit the Fiat brand at this year's Greenwich Concours to see and drive the stunning all-electric 2000.
So here are 2 incredible pieces of automotive history, 2 running examples of Tuckers. If you're familiar with Preston Tucker and Tucker, the cars, the innovation that went into them, really ahead of their time. 2 unique designs, neat-looking machines. The 2 examples they have here, this one in red was, this reddish color was completed for the movie that Francis Ford Coppola did about Tucker, and this one in green, which we'll see in a moment. This one, the former employees of Tucker, after the company closed, went back and finished the production of the car. So to see 2 of these in the same space in running pristine condition, wow, very fortunate to get that. This Jaguar clocked in at 172 miles an hour. If you sat in that, you're braver than me, that's for sure.
Management is here to help you achieve your most important financial goals. With disciplined asset management, flexibility, and a deep bench of talent, clients can take comfort in knowing we approach their portfolios from every angle to build a plan that's right for them. Learn more at 72capital.com. Superlight engineering, extreme power, race-honed agility, McLaren pours every drop of its expertise into delivering the most thrilling drive imaginable.
Car or build the car in order to be able to offer them as part of the Trans Am series. I have with me today an esteemed panel. How does that sound if I call you guys that? Ray Evernham is with me. As you know him as Jeff Gordon's crew chief, Rainbow Warriors. You are the winningest crew chief in NASCAR.
He's done some amazing things, and he has a wealth of knowledge. And one of the things that was talking about Bob Julius and the people, but that not only wears the Trans Am brand name, those cars raced and raced well.
They did race and did very well. A couple different, BF Goodrich sponsored one of the teams, and then he had a second, and they were very much in the pickup.
Lots of wind noise here, but a little red Ferrari here, but right behind that, that lime green, that's the Lamborghini Miura. That actually won, I think, best in its class, or but it got some award for the show, but really a great looking car.
Everything could win, and they won. I mean, it's amazing how they transition from AAA to AMC.
What else is in Italy? Pizza and Fiat. This is the part that I think I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are lucky enough to have one of the vehicles chosen to...
No.
So where are we today, Bri?
The Concours de Elegance.
And what are we going to look at?
National anthem.
Oh, yes. Applause.
Those clouds are kind of angry.
They're evaluating.
We will be back throughout the morning. This is the center of recognition.
Even driving it quietly.
Very lucky today. And we're lucky to see it in Garrison today. Thank you so much for bringing it. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And thank you all for coming out here and enjoying it.
Michael said, bring your Chevrolet to my pocket. Bring the pocket. No, no.
The reflection's tough. The Outsiders TV show.
TV phones. I have to tell you, so you just go out, just fold down and think.
And this is
As I walk in front of Dad, he's recording.
everybody does. It's like a magnet. Now this was a real treat. This old Maxwell with the other two cars on either side of it, these are what they call century cars. So these cars are over 100 years old. These three are over 120 years old. They all run. This one in the middle here, this Maxwell, is really unique because it has never been restored. It's in running order. You know, just the only maintenance to keep it running has been performed on it. Otherwise, this was allowed to just naturally age. And that's really wild because you consider all those years ago, the original owner had decided they were just going to keep it running. The first collector to get a hold of it, and all the collectors, as it changed hands afterwards, all committed to keeping it in this condition and just letting it naturally age. So what you're seeing is what time will do to a vehicle such as this. So that's rare beyond rare. The other really wild thing about this, you can see how the patina on the paint. This was originally apparently a forest green with a gold pinstriping on it, but obviously that's gone now. But just the fact that this car still runs after 120 years, I mean, even though it was allowed to naturally age, and you'll see in just a bit, those bare spots in the seat, that's actually the horsehair stuffing underneath, exposed from the leather on top having eroded away. But just look at modern cars and think, what modern car, if allowed to naturally age, even 20 or 30 years, would be in any way serviceable or running? You know, things are just built differently now. Granted, they're way more complicated, but this is like a living, breathing time capsule. So really, really a neat piece. Now, after seeing the Maxwell allowed to naturally age, this Pierce was obviously kept in pristine condition. Another car with a really fascinating story. There used to be apparently a competition called the Glidden Cup, which would run through Greenwich, where the car show was being held. And in 1905, Mr. Pierce, the owner of the company, drove this car in the Glidden Cup through Greenwich. And here it is, still running, 120 years later, sitting on display at the Concours d'Elegance. I just think the circular nature of that story is something else. But in the Glidden Cup, this car drove through Greenwich. They drove it up and down Mount Washington and back to New York. And that is just really something else. Another fascinating historical note with this, during the Glidden Cup, is where the checkered flag came from in races, because as the story goes, the checkpoints during the Glen rally, the drivers had to check in and get their cars examined, but because they also had the pit stops, there were so many people with flags, nobody could tell who the official checkers were. So it was decided, because they're checking, they were given a black and white checkered uniform and a black and white checkered flag. So there'd be no mistaking who the official race inspectors were, the check people. So that's where the checkered flag comes from. I love little historical stuff like that. And now we know.
Sorry.
Here we are back with the Maxwell, just to get another look at it. It still has the original production plate, Tarrytown, New York, Maxwell Motor Company. That's just so neat. And there's that horsehair stuffing that you can see sticking out through the seat, through the leather. Here's a Mercedes limousine or a luxury car, but this thing, immaculate, produced in 1937, so right before World War II. I can't even imagine how rare this car must be. So seeing this pristine like this, really a neat example of how cars were looking at that time before, well, the world changed.
The end as you walked in, please make your way over there. Then we have the shop, which is giving you some wonderful Haggerty and Greenwich Concours merchandise. Sweatshirt now, because I'm so cold.
People could purchase them, and they could actually do things with them that were practical. There was a use for them. And that was put on by the AA or the AAA.
It's a steam car.
This is Model F. This is safety to promote the drivability of automobiles, and therefore you had these early cars that were on these reliability runs. Because someone decided to be earlier, and you, as a Le Mans winner, would understand the Concours was the Le Mans of those days.
Exactly right.
On the first day, we went to food trucks for lunch, which were great. But day two, we were able to get into this Greenwich pavilion on the grounds, and this was the lunch we got to eat. So, yeah, definitely not your typical, car show fare. But boy, and everything on that plate, it's just as delicious as it looks. So that was a nice little treat and a nice little place to sit and look out across the water and some of the cars. So a very welcome respite from the day.
And a success. Well, here we are in Greenwich, Connecticut. Yesterday we had a class and we watched the BB 512 come by and win it. But it was titled, and joked and said it was an oxymoron, Affordable Ferraris. Is there such a thing, and how do you get into?
So here we are with this Duesenberg. Right when we were looking at the car and I was taking the pictures and filming, it was awarded best in class. I mean, it's Duesenbergs are just unbelievable. But this era of cars that they had lined up here, they're just something else. When you look at the workmanship that went into it, the craftsmanship of all the different materials, the wood, the leather, really impressive, really something else to see. This old Cadillac actually had a coolant leak, so it wasn't able to run, but beautiful, beautiful machine.
And you don't read about the statistics in a car, you have to feel it. And I think that they felt it first, and then they made a great choice. So I think they made a great choice for us, and I'm really proud of them for wanting to learn a little bit more about it.
Behind the scenes, Chrysler was working, the engineers, and this was 1931, 2, and 3, and 1 year later, the car to my left, your right, they came out with the airflow. This is a 1935, however, am I correct, 35? Yes. However, they couldn't believe that they built a car that looked like this. It was a case of too much too soon, and the styling caught people flat-footed. You either loved it or you hated it.
Okay, so while we were looking at the other older Chryslers, you may have heard in the background they were talking about the Chrysler Airflow, which is this car on the left, and it replaced the car to the right. So in one model year, they went from the old school car that you see on the right to this much more modern vehicle on the left. So an incredible jump in engineering and design. This car, the Airflow, they called it a truss body system, but it was actually like a precursor of a unibody design. It was tested for the first time a car was apparently tested in an air chamber for wind resistance to keep the air drag down. There were all sorts of other little innovations in the car. There were a lot of things in the car that were designed for safety, which was something, really outlandish at the time. Nobody was thinking of safety, but just a beautiful car and really interesting to see. Another interesting note with this car, it did not have any wood in its interior. However, in the factory, on the production line, workers hand-painted a faux wood trim on the dashboard and around the front, the driver and passenger door windows. Can you imagine that today? I do have a picture coming up in a little bit to get a glimpse of that wood grain painting detail. It's a different era, and that's why I love going to car shows and seeing these older machines, because it's something that is just unheard of today. So here we are at the close of our time at the show, and just again looking at this collection of Packards, and what an incredible, as I said, an incredible slew of cars. However, this is something you see my wife sitting in this little Fiat that was old Fiat 500 that was chopped, wicker seats put in there for just cruising around. in the Hamptons, and there was something about this that really made an impression on me because, and not just because it's my wife Eileen sitting in the car, but what happened here, and to jump back a little bit, there was an event earlier in the show where they did judging for kids to pick their favorite cars. And of all the cars that were there, they picked a Mustang Cobra Jet and the new Ford GT. So of all these incredibly historic cars, opulent cars, incredibly valued cars, that's what appealed to them. And here too, same thinking with all the stuff we had seen, and my wife was, blown away by some of these cars just as much as I was. At the end of the day, this caught her heart, and I think that speaks to what makes cars and the history of cars so interesting, is that you can talk about horsepower and 0 to 60 and lateral G, and you can talk about that stuff all day long. But at the end of the day, it's a design that, captures the hearts of people and, has an appeal to them that you don't necessarily have the ability to quantify or perhaps even qualify. It's just a gut reaction, and that's it. And the fact that this object, is something that someone designed and people built and now has this appeal, I think that's why cars hold such fascination. So with that little bit of exposition, I think I'll wrap this up now. So yeah, an incredible event. So glad I got to see it, even with my lymphoma and my chronic fatigue, that I was able to putter around there with my family's help and, get to see all this stuff. So thankful to them, and, being able to enjoy this just unbelievable display of history and design and innovation on mostly four wheels. But yeah, what a great experience. So thanks for watching.